Courage is not about being fearless.
Right.
It's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. The goal is never to make fear go away. If you don't have fear, like, you are a psychopath. If you are not happy in this moment, you will never be. For me, the biggest clarity comes from looking.
Here is something you need to hear. You're not lazy. You're just misaligned. I'm Kepo. I help high performers get unstuck by taking bold, aligned action. And this is Grow with Kepo, where we speak with influential trailblazers who've made their mark and found the clarity that changed their lives. This is where we get clear, realign, and move toward a life that actually feels like yours. Welcome to the show. All right, welcome back to the show, you guys. Today's guest is a very special person that I've known for quite some time now. We actually met through a mutual friend about a decade ago, right? Ever since then, she doesn't know this. She's about to find this out, but I've been admiring her from afar because I just really love what she's building and who she's been in the world. Sami Sacchi is a passionate educator. She's a fire starter. She helps leaders, organizations, individuals to break out of their cycles. She's the founder of the Self Academy, which is really about leading yourself first and reconnecting to your true self. And what I really love about her is that she's really all about unapologetically taking charge of your true self. And what does that even mean? It means getting past the conditioning, the fears, and all the noise in our head. And that really forms the foundation for what we're going to be delving deep into today, which again is all around the whole why you won't feel ready, why that's not such a bad thing, and how to actually move past it. I am super excited about today's conversation. Let's get into it. Sami, welcome to the show.
Thank you for such a beautiful and kind introduction. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited too. So before we hit record, we did talk about a few things that we wanted to touch on. And the past few series that I've done have delved deep into why people will never be ready, their mental blockers. But as somebody who works with people and organizations and you work from inside out, I think the first thing that I just want to hear from you is what you're doing with the Self Academy and as to how that pertains to today's topic.
Yeah, well, you did a good intro on just this kind of reconnection. I think what I do is basically help people understand themselves and the world in a way that it gives them back their power, where you see yourself as a co-creator with the universe, where you see yourself as an agent of change. For me, that's what leadership is, where you see power as something that comes from within instead of something that people either give you or that requires something to have control over. It's like I create different maps of reality that help us create a different system, a different way of relating to ourselves, to each other, and to the world. And I think we're all, I feel society, we're like thirsty for this because there's so much in our system that is like, doesn't support our full humanity. And we don't learn how to navigate life. We're kind of like thrown in there and like, follow the manual, get a degree, like survive, make money. And we're like miserable. And we're like, what is everyone else doing? And we're just kind of lost doing this whole thing. I take us off of the autopilot, bring a little bit more conscious awareness into this thing called life.
Something that I like that you said is the fact that we get to co-create and taking ourselves out of the autopilot, right? So when you think about what is holding people back from starting, right? Or even before that, like why they feel they need to be ready or they'll never be ready. How do those two things work? Like moving from autopilot to actually shifting that thinking that, okay, no, actually I'm in charge of all this.
It's interesting. Like I think about this twofold. When you were asking the question, I thought, well, first, when you're on an autopilot, right? And it's kind of like, it's kind of working, right? Normally people need like some sort of, and that's why unfortunately, pain is such a big catalyst. So sometimes people's
Mhm.
like awakening, let's say, is like a health problem or like an accident, right? Or, God forbid, like a loved one dies, like something happens that is just like life slapping you in the face, being like, wake up because something is not working. And I
Mhm.
always say, like, it first like whispers, but we're not good at hearing whispers because we're like creatures of comfort. And so we keep kind of like doing what's more or less working. Like, we're not dying, we're not thriving, but it's kind of like, okay. So that like reason to change, sometimes it's internal, like I
Mhm.
can't do this anymore. But that's, I think, the first level here. And I imagine people listening to this like already had some version of that, right? There's something
Yeah.
in them that said, hey, something needs to be different, I don't know what. So once that has happened, I think what tends to stop people from actually doing the change or starting the thing, and I think it's multi-layered, but the first thing that comes to my mind, one layer of it, I think, is clarity. So if you don't know, it's sort of like if you're just confused, and that's a good phase too, though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, so sometimes knowing what to know is like the first step
Mhm.
to be okay. Let me find the yes. It's not this. It's not this. It's not this. And there's like this search that happens, right? It's like the journey begins, and you
Right.
talk to different people, and of course, I have a lot of people come to me in these phases. Many people who have done my women's program come to the Self
Mhm.
Academy. They're in this awakening period, and they're like, there's something more. I need help. I need direction. And so
Right.
I think the cool thing about when you find the right people to guide you, you start to find clarity not in external things, not in like a map you found, or oh, the person's doing that. These things can inspire you, right? Like other people doing things can be really inspirational. But for me, the biggest clarity comes from looking inward.
Mhm.
Like, okay, well, like, and I think that's what co-creating means, right? It's like, okay, I'm this, I have these strengths and these things that move me, some things that like shut me down and make me feel anxious and terrible, and others that like light me up and expand me. And that's like starts to be my map, right? Of me and the
Right.
world interacting.
Mhm. Mhm.
And learning that, like learning those signals, learning your own emotions, learning how life and your body speak to you, right? Like
Yeah.
actually creating it's like a new language. It's a new map.
Right. A new
And
system, like you said.
yeah, like we're so used to people, the educational system, like everyone else telling us what to do, like study this, get this grade, next grade. Like it's like everything's kind of like tapping into the inner resource and like the inner compass to
Right.
then inform your outer action is a whole it's a paradigm shift.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say it is a paradigm shift. Exactly.
Then the inner work piece, I'd say that's the biggest chunk of it, like facing your fears, understanding your blockages, seeing all of
Mhm.
the little tricky ways in which self-sabotage shows up masked as other things, little things like the inability to say no. If you can't say no to
Yeah.
certain things,
Boundaries.
yeah, bound, exactly, right? It's
Yeah.
just all these little ways they creep up. And I'm going to add like a third layer here
Mhm.
because I think there's also something that is real is and it's the support systems. Support systems are important. I think,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Being in that community of people who are actually striving for the same things that you're striving for, or in that community where certain behaviors are actually rewarded versus being in autopilot, for example. Is that kind of what you mean by support system?
Yeah, I think community is a huge one. But yeah, people
Mhm.
that are gonna support that new direction and that new version of you and those dreams. And instead of being like, oh, what are you doing? Come back to the
Come back to
the
Plato's
program.
cave.
Come back to the matrix.
I want to touch on a few things that you mentioned that I don't want people to miss, right? Number one is that whole idea of, wait, it's pain that wakes me up. For some people, they might not go through some kind of tragic event or something massive. For some people, and I can use myself as an example, I have felt pain, but it's not pain that, oh, I lost someone or I lost a limb. It's that pain of that I call quiet, the life of quiet misery. You're going every day and you have your routine and yeah, you have a good job, but you just feel like there is more. And to the point where it starts to keep you up at night. You go on social media and you are just reminded by all these other people that seem to have their shit together. It's like, oh my gosh, like, and then something riles up in you, you get jealous because you're seeing who you can be. And you're so mad at yourself, like, why am I doing this? So that pain is real, you guys. The second thing that Sami touched on is clarity. Oh my goodness. I think we should go deep into that one, like clarity. Like there's so much there's so many ways to take this conversation. The clarity that we need, and also the fears, the blockers, and the system. Like, so just going to clarity, like, can we just touch a little bit on that? Like even further, right? If somebody doesn't know where to start today, what is the number one thing they need clarity on?
I mean, I would start with just basic self-awareness. So like your
Right.
values. Values discovery is one of the first things that I do. I've done with clients in the past, that I do with my
Right.
programs.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, yeah, getting to know these different aspects of yourself, but your values and your vision is going to be like this North Star. It doesn't mean it's not going to evolve over time,
Right.
but like at this point in time, you need to just start reflecting on that, because that does set the direction to some extent. Because it's all about boundaries, right? You're again, boundaries are like your network of yeses and nos. And so the clarity means, okay, like what am I a yes to and what am I a no to? That's right. Like what is calling me? Right? Like
Right.
what is it that is like pushing me? And then that life of quiet desperation that you said, yeah, it's just terrible. And I want to say something about that. That's like, sometimes it's so tough, because one thing that sometimes stops us from pursuing our actual vision, values, dreams, our like an authentic life is
Right.
the guilt. And like I felt it slightly in the way you voiced it too. Like, I have a good job, but it's like, what is good, right? It's like we're checking
Exactly.
these boxes, and then there's this voice of guilt saying like, you should be grateful. You have everything. Like, why aren't you happy and grateful? And then you're not only not able to feel the emotions that are telling you you're not in the right place, slight anxiety, right? Like not being able to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
stress, but it's this low level stress. It's not like you're like, I'm dying. No, it's like this, but it's that this is a voice. And anxiety can be many things, but one thing it's often is your needs not being met. And needs, we're talking about not only from the basic level of like, you're not eating right, you're not getting enough nutrients, you're not drinking enough water, you're not
Yeah.
exercising enough, or you're not getting enough intimacy, love, belonging, or you're just not showing up in the world in the way
Yeah.
that you know you're meant to show up. And so this
Exactly.
anxiety is like, yeah.
You're not
So
contributing. You don't feel like you're growing. You're just kind of hanging around. And
you're
oh, that's
checking the
not
boxes,
painful.
right?
Yeah.
You're,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And something that
yeah.
I can attest to is when that pain becomes greater, oh, it becomes greater than the pain that you think is attached to actually doing that thing or facing your fears. That is when the shift happens. At least that is when it happened for me. I was like, okay. We can't, I literally got to a point where I was like, I can't continue this way. Like, I feel like I'm going to pull my hair out. And you're right. It's a low level of stress. It's just like, it's buzzing. It's like you're buzzing. Your feet are never quite on the ground. And that's what it feels like,
Yeah. And you know what? There's a personal story I can share about this. Another company, I have a company with my mom called Marley
Mhm.
Camino
Right.
that we built together. And yeah, it was beautiful. And I started helping her out in college, and then when I moved back to Madrid, we grew it, and it was just such a beautiful like project and business. And at some point, speaking of the signs our body gives us,
Yeah.
my attitude with my mother was like this rebellious, angry teenager all of the time. And I was aware about it. And I was a coach already. I did my master's degree. I was like in therapy, and
Yeah.
I would apologize to her, right? It wasn't just, I was like, Mom, like, I'm sorry. And then at some point, after months of not seeing her, we have a coffee, we have a tea, whatever, at a cafe. And again, I have this like annoyed attitude. you know? And she said to me,
Just
like, I can't believe after all these months we haven't seen each other. Like, how is it that, like, it can't be that you still have this attitude? And, and I was just with that self-awareness, I was like, Mom, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you're right. It's bigger than me. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I've done
Mm.
everything. And we just kind of sat there in silence for a moment, and then we were walking in, and then she said, then we can't work together anymore.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
like, wow. And then it's so crazy because actually, when she said those words, I felt like the biggest relief I have felt in my life because I was unable to say those words because I had so much guilt
Oh.
and I felt I couldn't abandon her. And I felt that was my role. And I was scared of who I would be. What
Mm.
if I, like, so many things. And so life kind of like through these unconscious attitudes,
Right.
it just like forced that. And I often say, like, one of my coaches says, like, we don't know how to end things.
Oh my
It's,
goodness. Your
yeah,
coach
like,
is
ending things is an art. Like, we don't know how to end things, so we're kind of just there in this thing, and then sometimes
lingering.
life ends it for us with some horrible situation or something that just sucked and it's painful,
Mm-hmm.
but we weren't able to consciously choose it. And so life in that moment chose it for me. And that day I got home and something unlocked inside of me. I sat down on my computer for like 5 hours and wrote my entire website. It was like, yeah, it was just crazy. I just got up for like a cup of tea. I remember, like, in between. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I think there's a lot of things inside of us, like getting real with ourselves, like really being honest with ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
getting
Mm-hmm.
through these layers of identities of who we think we're supposed to be, of what society
Right.
expects of us. Like, it's challenging, and
Yeah.
I think the support systems we were talking about before is community is one thing, right? And like these friendships and people on the same journey, but it's also like a coach or like a
Yes.
therapist, somebody that's going to help you with like the tough stuff too.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you mentioned the coach part. Everybody needs a coach, you guys. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I think I'll riff on this later, but this also just goes back to the whole values thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
some people will not have a problem spending $7,000 on a Chanel purse. Like, I think they cost more than that actually. But when you say, oh, it's $6,000 for, I don't know, 12 weeks of coaching, like, oh, but you actually need someone to help, someone who is not emotionally attached to your outcomes, to help you point out your blind spots and give you the right prompts to help you to start thinking about things differently, right? But so something that you mentioned, we don't know how to end things. And
Yeah.
for some of us, we had to be laid off from a job that we were not happy with or happy at, for us to be like, oh, okay, what do I do now? You know what I mean? Like, so maybe something had to happen to our stocks, and it went to rock bottom or something. And we're like, okay, I've been putting all my eggs in this basket. Like, and I knew that I needed to develop multiple streams of income. I knew that I was over hedging myself on this. Now I'm forced to, take action. I'm just giving you all other examples that you could probably relate with, right? Like, or maybe it's a relationship that is not great for you. You guys, I'm number one. I don't know how to end things. I am that girl that, for me, it takes a while for me to be done with you, right? So there'll be several, like, okay, we'll break up and then I'll come back and then we'll come back to each other again. And we'll break up, come back to each other again. And then finally it's like, okay, something happens that just, I don't know, kind of like the switch that you had, almost like a release or something. Someone released you, I released myself, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. But you're right, we're
Yeah.
not great finishers. We're not
And I
great at
think here's
ending.
where a lot of our fears come up as well. Like,
Yeah,
when you were I was thinking about, like, for example, I have a huge, people don't think so because of my personality, how it
yeah,
appears outwardly, but
yeah.
I've had a people pleasing issue and a huge
Mm,
fear of disappointing others. So like rejecting others and disappointing others and people pleasing has made it difficult for me to just be like, no, or I don't know. or not right now. And somebody said it to me yesterday, you know, this whole thing, like if it's not a fuck yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still something like, well, I don't know, maybe. Like, let's leave it open. You know? It's also I like exploring and you know, but yeah. And then the other fears though, I was thinking is like the fear of failure, right? Sometimes like we hold on to things because
Yep.
we're like, no, like what it's gonna mean about you,
Yeah.
right? If that thing ends, like for example,
Yeah.
with relationships.
Okay, so this is a great segue to talking about fears, right? And is an excerpt from your book, The Inner Camino Towards the Soul. I will put it up. You guys can see it. You can get it on Amazon. It says living in a fear state keeps us stuck and our nervous system on alert, seeing the world as a threat we must defend ourselves from. From this place of lack, the pursuit is endless and futile because nothing is ever enough. And is literally what you just said, where like, no, I'm just going to keep that option open, or I don't know how to end this particular thing. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. I want to hear from you, and I want the listeners to hear from you. What I just read about, fear and keeping us stuck. Like, can you go into more depth about that with regards to never feeling ready, but doing it anyways? Like, what are the fears? You talked about the fear of not pleasing people, the fear of failure. I think you mentioned that already.
Fear of failure, fear of disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, this part of the book, it alludes to, I think it's like this void that we have inside. And I think it's about this, the beginning of the conversation, where the only ways we were taught to like fill ourselves is with external things. And so what
Right.
happens is we're like accumulating. And again, what is driving us? Fear of lack. So we try to accumulate money, you know,
Mm.
fear of being alone. So we just try to keep company no matter what the quality of the company is. Fear of failure. So we just try to like have these outwardly appearing successes, whether it's a job title or, you know,
Mhm.
followers or whatever that is, again, externally oriented. And then in this pursuit for external, you know, it's like the KPIs are external.
Mhm.
There's something inside, like there's a, you know, there's an essence, there's your heart, there's your soul, there's something else that needs nurturance, and the nurturing, that part is never going to fill up with external things. And so this is where the gaze and the paradigm shifts, you know, from being such an outwardly oriented world. I'm not saying we don't need any of those things or that those things suck or
Right.
that they're not necessary. I'm saying we need to find a balance with the external and the internal, where we learn to look inwards and find, like in this present moment,
Mm.
this feeling of perfection, like fullness. Like I
Mm.
have everything I need right now. And I've had the different moments, but last year was this specific moment. I tried to move to Mexico. It didn't work. I mean, I moved.
Yeah.
It was not my place. But I sometimes have this like little lingering anxiety when because I
Mm.
have so many ideas and I, you know, have these three kind of entrepreneurial projects and I want to do so much. And so, but there's this part of me where last year I just said, I was like, Samantha, if you are not happy in this moment, you will never be. Because
Mm.
I've already achieved so many of the things my past self
Wow.
wanted. And I'm still having this feeling, you know? So it's not about the thing or the website or when I get the thing or when it's not about that. It's not about it. It's not about the apartment. It's not about the partner. Like it is just not about that. And so I learned again, over and over again to anchor myself. And when I'm getting into this outwardly anxiety, I'm like, oh, okay, reel it back in. Right. And
Mm.
my morning routine, for example, where I move, dance, and meditate. That is my
Mhm.
anchor. But especially
Mhm.
because I start the mornings in like this accelerated, like, boom, right? Like, and I'm like, whoa,
Whoa.
the morning starts anchoring, not doing. It starts with being, right? And that's kind of the base of all the
Mm.
people who preach manifesting and attracting and being magnetic and allowing and receiving. It's training your nervous system to be in a
Mm.
state of like, I have everything I need, and every single day I feel like the luckiest person alive. And I'm
Wow.
like, if nothing happens today, I love my life. I love who I am. I love my
Mm.
community. I'm in joy. And so
Right.
that's what that means. It's learning this,
Hmm.
that feeling within yourself.
Hey, quick break. I want to invite you to something powerful. If you're a high achieving professional who feels burnt out, stuck, or like you've checked all the boxes but still feel unfulfilled, I've been there. That's why I offer free strategy sessions to help you reconnect with purpose and get clear on your next bold move. I would love to support you. Just hit the link in the description to book your call. Now, back to the episode.
Wow. That is powerful. You guys, I don't know about you, but I am enjoying this conversation because as Sami, as you were talking, I realized that wow, like you're talking to me as well, right? It's it's from that place of gratitude. It's from that place of just being present, right? Whatever is going on in our lives, there's always something that we can be grateful for. The fact that you get to be grateful means you're alive. So that's already something to be grateful for, that you're alive. It
And the fact that
sounds
you're anxious also means you're alive.
yes, that's true. That's true. It means that there is something is calling at you, right? And maybe you're just not living incongruent with that thing, but something is calling at you. So it sounds to me, at least this is what I'm hearing, Sami. All our fears, it sounds like it comes from this place of like maybe we're not anchored in the right place, right? We're not anchored in the moment. We are, you know, scattered all over the place trying to do when we just actually need to be first and be happy first. And from that happy place is where we can now understand, okay, kind of what you were talking about earlier, like what is true for me today? What am I, what attracts me? What do I love? What gives me energy versus what saps my energy? If we are not in that space where we even get content and be grateful first in that moment and just coming back to ourselves, it's very hard to move past any kind of fear. It is very hard to get any kind of clarity that we're talking about. That's at least that's what I'm getting from this. And that's what I
And can I
really
add a
want to
couple of
know out.
nuances here?
Yeah.
Just so one thing, and I think I just want to make sure nobody thinks that like if you're not able to bring yourself to a place
Exactly.
of like gratitude, then you failed at like
Yeah.
whatever. And I want to say it doesn't mean that from that place or feeling grateful, it doesn't mean you're not scared. Because I want to say like
Mm.
fear, the goal is never to make fear go away. Like fear is a basic
Yes.
core human emotion, and
Yeah.
if you don't have fear, like you are a psychopath, right? Like
Yeah.
fear is an emotion that is in place, and it helps to protect us and to keep us safe. And the thing is, we just need to, it's about creating a relationship with that fear, and it's about like,
Right.
okay, like what am I scared of, and does this make sense or does it not? Because
Mm.
sometimes the thing is, our amygdala, which is where we feel fear, like right at the center, it's like the oldest part of the brain. When
Yeah.
that gets fired up, sometimes the firing up is not proportionate to the actual threat. Like, for example,
Yeah.
speaking in public, like you're not gonna die, but
No.
there's
But
all
you
these
feel
old
like
things
you're gonna die.
like humiliation and then not belonging, and then you're going to get cast out from like the tribe, and then you're going to be alone, you're going to die. Like, yes,
Yeah.
there's a lot of that lingering in the amygdala.
Yeah.
And so we got to be like, okay, hold on a second, what's the worst case scenario here really? Right.
Yeah.
But it does feel like we're going to die sometimes when these fear comes up. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think a key word I want to throw in that I think is essential for this whole conversation and for everything you're doing, Kepo, is courage. Because
Mm.
courage, which is a quality that we can learn to cultivate, is not about being fearless. I don't like the word
Mm.
fearless. It's
Right.
about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It's about
Mm.
like I have a relationship with myself where when I'm scared of something, I know I have to step towards it. Because I
Absolutely.
promised myself I would never, consciously at least, like kind of turn away from my fear and be like, nope, I'm gonna go the safe way. But this is commitment to one of my values,
Right.
and it's getting out of your comfort zone, which is where
Mhm.
growth lies.
Yeah. I want to make this super tangible and practical for people listening or watching if you're on YouTube. So when we've talked about many different concepts, and you've worked with a lot of people, right? When you talk about values, because you mentioned one of your values now, which is when you're afraid of something, like basically developing courage and
Courage.
building your courage, right? Can you give us examples, if maybe like 3 to 5 examples of what you think, like when you say values, what are those examples? Because people are like, oh, it's very easy when we hear something over and over again, values, but it's like, oh yeah, values, or like goals. Oh, please, but like to give people more specific ideas of this is what we mean by values.
Yeah.
Can you share like 3 to 5?
Yeah. And I think, look, values are words essentially, right? But it's
Mm,
not just about the word. For example, like a value can
right.
be love.
Mm,
I'll never forget. I did my values course in a college in Australia, and
mhm.
the teacher also did it. Like I was like a guest speaker, and so the
Yeah.
teacher also did it. And then his number one value on this list, after we went through a list of 250 words, and this whole process to get to like your top 5, I couldn't believe it because it was so different than mine, and I didn't actually think anyone in life would ever have that as a number one value, and it was
Right.
order.
Order.
Order was his number one value in life. And I was like,
Interesting.
wow. I did it with another, like some family. And I always remember this other guy, his number one value was perfection. But what's interesting here though, is that it's not about the word. It's
Mm,
about what the word means to you.
to
So the,
you.
the work,
Right.
the work, for example, and this course is on my website, so you can actually do it if anyone wants to do their
Right.
values, right?
Yeah.
You go through, you get your words, but then you ask yourself, and this is part of the clarity. What
Yeah.
does this mean to me? And what does this value look like in action? You know? Like
Mm,
if you have for example, some of my top values, the thing is, like, it's funny because I'm about to redo my values because I feel like they've shifted a little bit, but my values, used to be love, spirituality,
mhm,
communication,
mhm.
right? So, and then those are again just words, but I know
Yeah.
what they mean. Freedom is one of my top number one values.
I was gonna share my own later. Like my top value is freedom.
Woo!
Woo, we can riff on that one later. But yeah, go on.
Next podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just to give an example, right? Like if you're living a life against your own values, like if you're living a life where you feel trapped and one of your top values is freedom, like what's going to happen? You're not going to feel fulfilled, right? You're
No.
going to feel in misalignment. You're going to start feeling the anxiety,
Yeah.
and shedding light on
Yeah.
the values and be like, "Oh, that makes sense. Like what I'm doing, my actions and what I say is important to me
To
are
me, yeah.
actually not matching up." And that's
Yeah.
not getting honest with yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. This topic on values, like you said, is a whole other podcast because I'm about to go off tangent, you guys, but I will not do that to you. We will stay on topic. We will stay on topic about what it is about this whole not feeling ready, why it's not a bad thing. Like Sami talked about the fact that these fears that are hovering around us and are so loud, they're not bad. They have a function. It's just that sometimes they are overemphasized or we don't know how to channel it, right? So in some of your write-ups that at least I've read, you talk about unapologetic activation. And I love those 2 words together. I'm really into words, which is shedding conditioning to step into your real power. So we've talked a lot about how it feels when you're not living incongruent with what you value or when you know that there is more, the life of quiet misery. Can you describe, like, how would someone know that, okay, I am stepping into my real power now? This is what it feels like.
Well, that's a feeling, right? That like you start to tap into,
Yeah.
and it's, and I think it's with unapologetic activation, it's interesting because they say your gifts and your wounds are intertwined, right? And so I have struggled my entire life with shame, and we live in a paradigm of shame, right? Where companies and everyone profits on like you not feeling good enough and like keeping you hooked, right? And keeping you low, like if not empowerment and elevating us and making us all be self-aware, that would be part of the world, and it's not.
Yeah.
Being healthy, being aligned, being empowered, it's like you got to go against the current. And so I've had this work really deep within myself, and really look like meeting these deep wounds within myself of unworthiness, right? And like and of feeling like I'm not lovable, or somehow like shame is like this voice that makes you feel that something is wrong with you, like everyone else kind of figured it out, but like there's like something defected about you. There's like and it's not real, because everyone thinks that about themselves, right? It's just these deep wounds we carry, and the unapologetic activation is about like rewiring that, and like tapping into that thing you're saying and be like, wait, what? It's like awakening this like inner power inside of you. And it's scary. Like some people are like, what, wait, because when you awaken this power, it's like, you need to change your life, right? Like that inner voice.
It becomes a necessity. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, I don't need the unapologetic activation is realizing, wait, I don't owe anybody anything.
Zero.
I don't need to explain myself. I don't need to be like, for example, classic thing, and we work in my program that I've also worked on, right? Is like, hey kid, do you want to come? Do you want to do this tonight? Or do you want to go to this thing? No, sorry. It's just that I have to do this and that. And it's like, I'm so busy. I'm traveling tomorrow. It's like, what the fuck? Like, where did we learn, to over justify? And this is where the people pleasing, the fear of disappointment, and our identity revolving around giving and other people's needs and other people's emotions, right? Being
and
unapologetic.
What other people think of us.
Yes. And being unapologetic about what you need, what you desire, doesn't mean at the expense of others. It just means this becomes the sun and everything else revolves around it, instead of like you being, the moon revolving around other people's orbits. It's about you becoming the center of like your own orbit. And it's tough, but I think as women, we starting every time a woman discovers her power, I think she unconsciously, if she's really aligned, becomes an agent to reconnect other women with their power. And so when people say no to me, I'm like, awesome, great. Like if you are saying no to me, it means you're saying yes to you, and you know yourself, and and if it hurts me, or I'm like, oh shit, or I'm disappointed, I'll deal with it. Don't modify yourself and try to protect me, because I got me. And if it's real,
Exactly. And whatever you try to do, when you try to move past your fears and step into your real self and take on that project or whatever it is that is on your heart to do, it's going to feel like that. It's going to feel like, oh my gosh, like, is it okay? Yes, it is okay. There's going to be a lot of no's that you have to say to people. And there's going to be a lot of discovering that, oh, this thing that I thought was so important, this person that I thought was so important to be there for their, I don't know, graduation, birthday, or whatever. I say, it's not even a big deal. And what my message is to this world, who I am, who I'm trying to be, is important. And I need to take care of me first, right? In order to actually be there for other people. I need to, I'm just explaining what I think I'm hearing from you, right? Which is, I need to first realign with who I am. I need to first be true to myself and be okay with the fact that it might mean saying no to other people. And that's fine. Because like you said, when you say no to other people, you're saying yes to yourself. And for a lot of us, we have to say there are a lot of yeses that are like a backlog of yeses that we should say to ourselves. And so for some time, it might seem like, wow, like you're being selfish. No, you're not. You're just in a season where you need to learn that it's okay to
you know
do
what? Like,
yourself
you
first.
are being selfish.
Yeah.
And I think it's about reclaiming the word selfish.
The word selfish, yes,
Because
exactly.
that's a huge shadow. And like, I've had moments where people called me selfish, and it was like, you know, like it was like the wound, you know? I'm like, am I selfish? Am I this egocentric? Like, and it's like, we are everything. We get to be selfish sometimes. We get to be selfless sometimes. We get to be masculine. We get to be feminine. We get to be like beautiful and light. And we get to be like angry and fierce. Like, it's not about this is the work I do of the integration of the self. As long as you're running from trying to be something, not trying to be something and trying to be something else, you're running from parts of yourself. It's about dropping the judgment, you know?
Yeah.
Because this is like the hardest part. And it's gonna require people getting annoyed at you, people be calling you selfish, like calling you names. It's about you posting on Instagram, and maybe you have some ridiculous haters. You know what I mean? Like, and it's you understanding that like you have an inner anchor and an outer anchor where you remember who you are. So that those things that they might hurt, you know, but it's like the bamboo. It'll sway you a little bit, but like you have the roots and the anchor.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. We can look at the time. We can keep going on and on and on. I've really enjoyed this. I think that as you were talking and you talked about how you dealt with shame and all of that. Like, I think I have a similar story. Like, for me, it's, how do I describe my own? I just go through this bouts. Or I've gone through this bout sometimes where I just feel like, oh, look at me, I don't have friends. Like, nobody loves me. Like, I tell myself all these things, and then I attach it to, oh, it's because I'm not doing enough for them. And so I'm getting somewhere. And so someone calls me like, oh, I need help with this. Or, hey, I've been looking for this. And then I take on their project as my project. Meanwhile, my other things are there, just in the background, not getting done, right?
I can relate.
and then I'm like, wait, no. And then I went through this process where I had to do that inner work as well. Like, just be honest with myself. Like, what is it that you really want? And what is it that is really holding you back? And hour by hour, look at how you spend your day versus what you say you really want to do. Like, why are you working 2 hours on this person's ask and then you work like 15 minutes on your own and you're done? Is that whole, like, so I had to just switch, like you mentioned earlier, the metrics, how I'm measuring my worthiness, how I'm measuring the number of people who love me. And it's all lies. Of course, I have people who love me. I do have friends and they love me back. And it's not necessarily because, oh, Kepo helped me with this project. They just love me for who I am. And that freed me to now finally step into, okay, this is my own project. This is my own priorities. I'll get to your ask later. So I switched it from, now I'm spending 2 hours on my own stuff and my phone is on DND. You can't reach me. And then when I'm done, then we can talk about your own stuff. Like, I cannot make your own personal agenda my own, priority,
Girl, I feel you so much, and I've been doing the same, and it's like what? And it's like amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's hard. It's hard to eventually get.
And can I add something here? I think there's a fear we don't talk about very often, but it's like, when you actually show up for yourself, instead of procrastinating, there is like you don't have an excuse anymore. And so this is scary because it's like if you're actually showing up and putting in the love and the time and the energy and it doesn't work, like, can we be okay with that?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and this is where especially in entrepreneurship, if you do not make peace with failure and you do not drill that mindset into you that it's about testing and trying and pivoting and failing forward, it's just too hard to be an entrepreneur. Being a perfectionist and an entrepreneur just like don't go,
No, they don't go. Not only entrepreneurs, right? Just even if you're trying to be an A-star at your 9 to 5 job, like you will make mistakes. Like it's all right. And Sami, the things you were saying just now is almost like you listen to the last few episodes that I just batch recorded, but you guys, she did not listen. You know why? Because I haven't even published anything as of today. Like she doesn't even know that whole fail forward. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it when things just align like this. So if you haven't listened to those other episodes, go back and then you understand everything that Sami is saying here. Okay, Sami, we can go on and on, but at some point we need to bring this thing home.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about for example, we talked about the first thing that they need to do, right? Which is, their values, right? If you wanted to share, I saw something about waking up the soul, in one of the things that you wrote. I think maybe it was your website. I don't know where I saw it, but something about waking up the soul. And I love that part of it. If you were to leave us with like 3 things that we can do or be to finally wake up the soul and just do it, whatever it is for you, what would those 3 things be? No pressure. We don't know, so we don't know whether it's right or wrong. Just whatever you've worked with a lot of people, is just whatever I think okay, what 3 things do you want to leave us with?
I think number 1 is, we kind of touched on it, but number 1 would be start to have a relationship with yourself, with an inner voice. So start to talk to yourself, whether it's through journaling, right? But like, even when you were talking about these beliefs, these thoughts, when we start to develop our awareness, our observer mind, instead of believing what we think, we're like, oh, I'm thinking this, right? Oh, look at this. I feel like nobody loves me, I don't have to believe it, right? But I'm like, wow. So start to like observing and develop an external, like an observer relationship with yourself. I think that's a first thing. A second one I would say is start any form of practice that brings you into the present moment. Okay, so it doesn't have to be meditation, although meditation is an amazing one.
Right.
It can be, but not like watching TV, obviously, like something that gets you to be present and back into like your body, and just in case, it could be something like even eating very mindfully, but just something that allows you to be present with yourself. And the third one, and I think the third one is also, I would say, compassion. Compassion is, for me, the discovery of my life, because it is the foundation of self-love and of self-acceptance. Compassion is not about pity. It's about like being able to be with everything that is happening. And and like being with your fear, being with your anxiety, just allowing it all to be, instead of trying to like always like change ourselves and wanting, like, that's the shadow side of growth, right? Always wanting to be different.
Yeah. Wow.
So those 3 things.
Beautiful. I hope you guys caught that. When she talked about compassion, she wasn't even talking about having compassion on others. I think to some extent we can say that, we all feel compassion towards people who are dying or sick. She's talking about having compassion with yourself, right? And I am guilty of this. Like we always hear the whole, we're our own worst critics, and if there is a worst critic, I am worse than the worst critic of myself. Like, I sometimes I tend to not have compassion on myself. Like, I hear my own thoughts and I judge myself and I'm like, you didn't do that well. You're so, I just come up with all these adjectives, but it's learning to have that compassion on ourselves. And I think I love that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You guys,
Yeah.
I know you want more of Sami. I do. So tell us, Sami, if anyone wants to work with you, where would you direct them to? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, the main website is theself.club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on the self.academy, there's also the courses. But there. And then if you just Google my name, you can find my website on samanthasacchi.com and on Instagram, Sami Sacchi. So there are all the things. We're going to start activating so much these next few months. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
we're launching Unapologetic for late this year, the 4-month
Oh,
women's
okay.
program.
When?
So September.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Thank you so much, Kepo.
Of course. If so, like you, if you're anything like me, I'll probably follow up on some of the links there and I'll put them up for you guys. If you want a little more of this, then you can definitely binge on Sami's content and maybe even sign up for one of her events or programs. All right. Thank you so much, Sami. This was wonderful. I hope to see you all on the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to Grow with Kepo. If this episode sparked something for you, subscribe, share it with a friend, and keep growing.